The lay will tell me, okay, well, no matter what happens, I somehow have to have 3 free flowers. Or it's not going to work. Or 3 free lays. Like someone has to donate 3 lays for me to get to the amount I have based on what I get. Because I have limited resources, right? That's the same thing if we talk about lay. So if I'm talking about units of lay, okay, class, the only way we're going to get it is somebody needs to donate 3 lays. Who it is, it doesn't matter. But the only way we're going to get the amount we have based on the resources we have and we're given, we have to have 3 free lay. Right? But if no one or your teacher is book smart, right? And book smart means they can tell you what's in that book, page by page, line by line, chapter by chapter, but they're not subject matter smart, right? So they are missing that deep content knowledge. It's going to be difficult for them to make something so abstract concrete for their students, right? So we have linear equations. Talks about rate of change, right? In this case, rate of change is running, right? That was an example I gave you. That leads to something called linear programming. So what does that mean? That's still words, right? I don't get it. Well, if I connect that to culture, right? Linear equation is about growth. It's about the rate of growth. So let's say I have a plumeria tree. Well, I know now how long it takes to grow this one specific plumeria tree. Well, I still don't get it. Linear programming is about crop optimization. So based on what I know about plumeria tree A and plumeria tree B, I know how to allocate my land and how to optimize the land I have so that I'm making the most money out of my plumeria. Okay? So that's what it's about, right? So how does this connect to integrative STEM education? Because that's what else I'm passionate about. Not just culture-based education, but I'm passionate about STEM education. Well, STEM education stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, right? Unfortunately, in Hawaii, STEM education means science, and that's wrong. It is not just about science. So it's about connecting to what we just talked about, right? All that math, we can start talking about now science things, right? It's about, let's talk about soil. Let's do an experiment. Maybe plumeria grows better in a certain kind of soil. How can we figure that out? Well, now I'm going to introduce in science, right? So then we talk about the different varieties, right? Okay, well, let's pick some varieties and start growing them and see what works best. And we're going to be scientists. We're going to take notes. And so based on that, we create a design, right? My students as scientists create some kind of design. They design a project themselves. They work through a design process, which is technology and engineering.
Without them even knowing that they just did that.
Right. You're going to set it up. And in your groups, you decide what you think is best. Based on information you've researched, based on information, this is where you start bringing in community members, right? You can bring in a plumeria grower. You can bring in an ag person. And they can talk to the students. The students have to learn. They have to figure it out. And now they're designing their own nursery, right? Which leads them to, wow, so is this how how did we get all these varieties, right? And then they might come to me and say, Kumu, can you bring in somebody who can talk to us about this? Because look at the difference. These are all plumerias, but how come my flower petal is different from her flower petal? Right? So that's what integrative STEM education about. It's bringing in the math, the science, the technology and engineering design process to get kids thinking and coming up with their own questions, right? But none of this can happen without that subject matter knowledge, right? So it takes subject matter knowledge, which is the ability for you as a teacher to find analogies, metaphors, demonstrations, right? You don't need to write it down. I made a little slide for you.
Oh.
Okay.
I think that's not right.
Okay? So it's subject matter knowledge. So it's finding those things about the content to help you to create these different ways of teaching for them, right? And then it takes pedagogical content knowledge, so how to teach it differently, right? To know your students well enough that you can teach to them, right? Not just teach the book, right? Or exactly like what Melly just said, teach at them, right? Pedagogical content knowledge. Then of course, it comes with the culturally responsive teaching, which is this part here, right? The lay. I introduced the lay because that I know is part of the culture. I've learned enough about my students to know that this is a part of their culture here in the islands, right? And how you do it is up to you, whether it's flower lay or not. And then of course it's integrative STEM education, right? That's what it all of it together gets you that. So this is what it takes, in my opinion, right? This is what it takes. And this is my goal, right? I want these teachers like this. I want teachers, right? So I don't want, my goal personally, so it really is my mission in life now, is I want to be able to create teachers who create their own curriculum. It's for 4 years now, going on 5, and in fact I'm volunteering my services for Iniloa Astronomy Center on the Big Island to create curriculum. I don't want to do that. I think, right, this is where my next piece. How do we do this? Well, let's go back to what, who was it speaking? Oh, it was in the panel session, right? Both of our panelists, Kahealani, and Sammy, I can't think of his, Kalei. Yeah. They both talked about how I kind of made the leap. They talked about how they took what they had, right? Remember they had that one piece where they talk about what doesn't matter about resources. I use what I have, right? And really what they're saying is I use my personal creativity and imagination to come up with something. And that's what it takes, right? I want to be able to teach teachers how to do what they already do, but they don't know they're doing it, right? Because that's the thing, I notice. Every teacher will tell you that. Oh, well, but you didn't have this. Oh, well, yeah, I know I didn't have that, so I did this because to get myself that. You just used your own personal creativity and imagination to fill in the resources that were missing in your classroom, right? But they don't realize that. But that's all this is. Being able to create integrative, culture-based STEM education is about personal creativity and imagination, right? It's about calling on your ohana, right? So that means getting to know your students, getting to know who they come from, and what those people know and do, right? Oops. Right? It's about kaia'ulu, or community, right? So knowing the community that your students come from, as well as the community that you yourself may come from if you come from someplace different. Knowing who you can count on and call on to come in and malama, right? That's where the student, and you can have ohana or community resources come in and talk with your students. Share their ike with them, right? Give them their manao. And then if all else fails, you can call on me. So, any questions? So I have a couple of brochures of what I do that I share with you guys already. And how I can help. But I'm available. I think we have like 3 more minutes maybe to answer any questions, or if you need if you'd like additional brochures of someone you might think might want one, or even of the handout. But any questions you can. Sure, here. Yeah, I'll just let you can take whatever you need.
I have a teacher in the middle school that is helping, trying to implement the STEM program, and she's trying to find a cultural way to.
Sure, yeah, and that's exactly that's what I like to hear. I like to hear about,
because the teaching that what she was taught about the STEM and how to be able to project it to the kids is not connecting. It's going over the kids' heads, because it's not of something that they are familiar with.
Right. And so this is my problem with, yes, I will write curriculum if that's what's going to help. But my problem with me doing that is that I don't know you. I don't know the kids in your classroom. I'm writing to a content. But it doesn't matter if the content is the best content in the world, if I made the best curriculum in the world, if it has nothing to do with your kids, your classroom, and who you are. Right? Which is why, to me, it's far more important for teachers to learn to be able to do what I do themselves. Because if I can't be in your classroom 24/7,
Correct.
no matter what curriculum I make, you're gonna have to fix anyway.
Because it's just like a guide.
Right.
And then
It's like any curricular
if
resource.
you can't figure out the guide and how to tweak it to or adapt it to so you can connect with your children, then it's just a book of paper.
And not to mention, it may be something that you're not passionate about, right? What if you guys didn't like lay? Then, oh my God, I gotta do a lay. I hate lay. I always hated lay. Or even, no matter how many times I was asked to do it, I hated doing it. Well, your kids are gonna pick up on that.
Right.
No matter how enthusiastic you seem, they're gonna say, "Come on, we can tell you don't care." No, I do. Remember, you just gotta string it together like this, right? Kids are smart.
They know how
Right.
they can read fairly well between
Sure.
lines.
Yes,
So like
fairly well, right?
She does music, she plays and composes and things, and then so you can still with the patterns in a
Well,
song.
that has a lot of math
Yeah,
actually in composition.
Yeah.
A lot of
So
math
you use
is
that
involved in
for
that.
showing them the
Yeah.
patterns.
Yeah.
So take, like you're saying, take what you like, what you have a passion for,
Yeah.
what
Right,
you're
and then-
knowledgeable about, and use that.
Use that as well as what your kids are passionate about
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And again, even if they're not passionate about it, find some way to make
Right,
them
to make
passionate
them,
about it. And even not even passionate, you just have to get their interest,
Yeah.
right? And because there's a lot of math involved in tone, frequency,
Right.
timing. That's all math.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. So that's kind of what I'm doing it
Yeah.
with my
Well,
work now. Yeah.
Most of us don't.
Yeah.
Unless it's pointed out to us or.
I just look at it as that they love music.
Yeah.
And because of music, that's how they can remember things.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
Exactly. That's how most people, right? They make a song.
Yeah.
They'll remember it.
Right.
Right. Any other questions before we?
Very good.
Thank you very much.
I'm always here to help. You have my information in the brochure, so please don't hesitate.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming. If you want to finish your lay, because you might have somebody you want, feel free to take whatever other materials you want. I know some of you don't want to leave with only half a string or whatever. And honestly, it won't. You take as much as you want. I made it for the class, so if you are passionate about wanting to finish that, then by all means, please do.
My other question, where were you, how many years ago when they first made third grade, they had algebraic expressions and I didn't know how to teach it to them. It took me about 5 years to get to a point where, because the very first time I had it, I bust out A plus B equals C and all that kind of stuff, and I had sixth grade and I still blew them away.
Oh, you can leave it, Melly. I'll take care of it.
Didn't know how to teach them that. I finally got to the point where the equal sign I said was, that means this side and this side are the same. This is you and this is your brother. You guys get candy. Who has more candy?
Yeah.
Your brother got more candy. What you gotta have so you have the same amount. So
Right.
that's where the +3 came and stuff like
Right.
that. But it was.
And that's what it was, right? Back, it was a matter of trial and error until you got it right.
And like you said, you have to say what they could kind of understand. So having the candy, they understood.
Right.
And with fractions, I always use pizza.
Yeah.
And the Pizza Hut personal can
Food.
pizza.
Right.
That they could understand. I go, top number is how many slices you got, and the bottom number is how big the slice.
Yeah.
So,
So you related it? You related it to them, right?
yeah, at least a couple more picked it up.
Yeah.
I take it as a win.
Yeah. There you go,
Yeah.
right?
One more
And you
pick
just
up.
try and get better the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your time with me today. I hope you were able to take something away.
Oh, yes, you did.
More than.
Because I always wonder, how are you gonna bring Hawaiian kind stuff into math?
To that.
Yeah.
Right. And there, and that's the one thing. So really, that's my specialty. I'm really, I guess that's the one thing I always have trouble explaining. Like I see things like that
Through the eyes
a
of
lot
the
easier than math teachers, just because
Yeah.
they're taught the math, right?
Yes.
They're not necessarily taught where it came from.
I think you're just saying like this basically is to tell people, look at something this simple.
Yeah.
And I like how you had it like, for the little kindergartners up
Yeah.
to in the mathematical equations.
And all with the same thing.
All you're telling them is, look for the pattern.
Yeah.
You're looking for the pattern and stuff and it's all there. It's gotta be really smart though for put them all together.
So that's the content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being really good at the content.
Yeah,
Having
you
that
still need
subject
to,
matter
you still
knowledge.
need to know that because otherwise how you gonna pull it? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
If it's on my wrist, perfectly.